And so I was like a engineering professor at CU for like a year and a half or 2 years.
Welcome to Mind Control.
And so I would like bring my guitar to class.
It's
and, like,
easier
play
to
for the
learn when
students
your teacher is super cool playing guitar. Were you like the cool teacher?
I was definitely the coolest.
Just like, hey, what's up, everybody? We're working
And you're an
through.
accomplished musician. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so I play instrumental fingerstyle acoustic guitar. I have a pretty terrible singing voice.
Yeah, we've all been saying that.
Really.
Everybody here was just
Speaking-wise,
like,
I
no,
mean,
he
it's
speaks
just-
fine, but
I know words. When I was, I think, 10 years old, my older brother and I, we were like walking through our little town, Buena Vista, Colorado. There's a yard sale, on a Saturday, and someone's selling this acoustic guitar, like a mini-sized one for $10. And we each literally had $5 in our pockets, so we like combined forces. And then I think on that same day, my brother was like, let's go buy a heavy metal guitar magazine. And
Not just a regular guitar magazine. A heavy metal.
Yeah, it's like
the acoustic and heavy metal, that's where you really.
Yeah.
And it's like the ones where it like has the 5 songs you can learn, and the top song in there was One by Metallica.
Yeah.
So on this little acoustic guitar, a 10-year-old, I learned this Metallica song. But
Yeah.
and again, like thought that I was never gonna do anything with it because I couldn't sing.
Right.
But sometimes like that, what you think is like the curse, is really maybe a blessing in disguise. And so like I put all my energy into playing guitar and just started like trying to think like, how can I think outside the box? And like, what if I bang on the guitar and use it like a drum kit? What if I, change the tuning? And some stuff I picked up along the way from other guitarists, and some things like I was this ignorant kid who like, I started playing with one hand and I'm like, oh, what do I do with this? Started like, figuring out these unique ways to play. But I always had this this thought of like making it in the arts is really rare. So I'm going to be smart about this. And I went to engineering school at CU and studied civil engineering.
Like not an easy thing.
Yeah.
That's like, I just decided as a backup, I'll be an engineer.
I did pretty well, but I didn't really like it. So but I was really into rock climbing. So I taught rock climbing and ice climbing and stuff for CU for their outdoor program. Did that for a few years, loved that, and then the engineering department tracked me down and said, "Hey, we knew you did well in undergrad. We want you to get your master's degree." I was like, I'd be an idiot to say no to this. So I did that.
Yeah.
That was way more enjoyable for me. And then I finished that, and they asked me to be like a part-time professor at CU. So I was teaching.
Is it just because you did so well in undergrad?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was like a engineering professor at CU for like a year and a half or 2 years. And that's when my music started really taking off, though.
Still in the back of your mind during all that, even though you're like, hey, I still want to end up playing the guitar for people, or was it still just kind of a hobby?
At that point, getting offers now like around the country to play, and so I would fly out on the weekends, play these little tours, fly back and try to make it back in class on time. But it was this really natural process, and then it got to this point where it's like, I can do this full time.
Yeah.
Like I did the math, like I made like a spreadsheet.
Sure,
and
you're an engineering major.
I'm curious, Trace, like what gave you the confidence to work harder at guitar? Like, was it those first YouTube videos? Were you getting comments?
Yeah, at that point, I made a little website, and I was getting like pings to my website from Taiwan. First was like the big one. So
No
some
kidding.
of my videos somehow were circulating on like
like look at this dude.
Yeah, this is like before YouTube. It was like circulating on some like forums in Taiwan. And when I would play shows, if I played like something more standard, people would be like, "Oh, it's neat." And I'd play, I'm like, I have this new thing with these two-handed playing, and I'd play that, and people would be like, and so I was like, okay. Like, so I learned that like the more I went outside the box, the more I was trying to creatively come up with new inventive techniques, especially without singing the whole show, right?
Yeah.
The more I did that, the better I did.
Because we've spoken about how being hungry makes a big difference in anything that you're doing. Like, oh man, this is my only way to do this. But you had a legitimately successful career/trajectory. If you wanted for the rest of your life to be a professor, you could be.
Yeah, so where was that tipping point where you decided I was going to play full
So that was about 16 years ago, full-time music, when I made that decision. I think the tipping point, part of it was financial. Like I liked being a professor, but I liked performing music more.
Sure.
And so once I realized if I would say yes to all the offers that I was turning down because I had to be in class that week, if I said yes to those in my spreadsheet, you know, and when I talk to like younger people these days, it's like, the reason why I think that's important is because I know too many people who are like, oh man, like, it'd be so cool to be a rock star, or like, it'd be so cool to be a musician, you know.
Get that spreadsheet.
I'm gonna like, just like, you know, invest in like an album and a website and all this stuff, and they like go into debt.
Yeah.
And they're like trying to, the analogy I use is like you walk up to like all these doors and like, a lot of doors are shut, and they'll be like, they're like prying that door open and trying to kick it in.
Right.
My advice to people is often like, pursue your passions with excellence. Do the best you can. Have so much fun doing it. And if it ends up being like this beautiful hobby that you enjoy, that's great.
Yeah.
If it ends up
Being a career,
like, and those doors
Bonus.
open, walk through those doors, but don't try to force it. And I feel like for me that worked well. Like I always thought this is never gonna happen, right? So I never forced it.
Yeah.
You know, and that really seemed to work well. Like, it was a very natural thing.
Because as an artist, I mean, even though people might have played like you did before, you really did it yourself.
Yep.
You created your own style. You were discovering it yourself. And
It is really cool because normally, honestly, the stories aren't normally like that. Normally, there are stories like, oh, that was it. I knew it. I loved it. And I quit school and I, dropped out and I went this way and I lived in a van first, which are awesome stories as well because it just shows like there's passion and commitment there. It's just a whole bucket load of fear that goes with that. And you're just like, look, I'm going to go, as long as this keeps moving, I'm going to keep following it. And it turns out, mathematically, this is a better choice. And also it makes me mathematically much happier, on anything that I'm doing, which is really,
I just feel fortunate that that's how it went. I'm very grateful for all that.
well, it's cool. I like how you talked about how you did plan things out. You have to have that kind of viewpoint too of like, hey, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at a plan to get where you want to get.
Right.
Because then you can do it. Like I said, I mean, it's awesome to jump off cliffs sometimes and pull that.
Yeah,
but
sometimes you need to,
works,
but you got to make sure you pack that parachute, because otherwise you don't.
Yeah.
It's
nothing wrong with, like jumping in and pursuing your passions, but you gotta do it smart.
A mind control exclusive.